I think the age thing is a bit of a misnomer. Actually, pensioners are the wealthiest age cohort, and I think we tend to over-focus at times on pensioners. About 1 in 5 of those are, in wealth terms, millionaires now. But there is definitely a cohort of pensioners who are really struggling. So I think if we're going to look at giving additional funds, we need to be targeting it based on need, and just using the entire pension system doesn't do that. There's quite a lot of wealthy pensioners. And as you said, the price tag of increasing this is very high, and the pension element would be a very large chunk of it. But things like pension credit that goes to the poorest pensioners, basic out-of-work benefits, top-ups in terms of people who've got low income, I definitely think the government should be looking at this. And, you know, I think in a few months' time, when this is really hitting people, I think the government is going to be even more on the rocks than it is now.
James?
Well, I can't quite go along with that, actually. I think, obviously, it's the case that some pensioners are well off, but if you're heading towards a means test, I fear I can't be on that bus. You know, I think it's...
Oh, I'm not for one moment suggesting you mean to test the pension. We already have a means test system in the pension system. We have pension credit, and then we have the pension, the state pension that you get. I'm saying that if you want to target what are limited resources at the moment, we have incredible pressure on the public finances. If you want to target it, go for those pensioners that are really struggling.
Yeah, but, you know, it's all very well, but you talk about, you know, terrible pressure on public finances. The Treasury would agree with you, but I would point to the billions, maybe 17 billion or more that the Ministry of Defence has lost in a black hole, the billions that were wasted in the test and trace scheme and so on. So before we target, you know, supposedly rich pensioners, you know, maybe the state and the Exchequer could pay a visit to the Moat and Beam Department. I think, if I may, Michelle, the energy dimension of this is very interesting, because I specialise in that field. And listening to the schemes that you were talking about, Charlotte, on pensions, I mean, I'm struck by the labyrinthine winter fuel payment, warm home discount scheme, cold weather payments, household support fund, energy obligation, just counting the forms I'd have to fill out, you know, to get hold of any of that stuff. And I'm not yet 85. I'm already feeling pretty ill about it, you know. So I fear that the legacy of Iain Duncan Smith, your boss before now, and the welfare system, and certainly in the energy dimension, it's not looking good for when £2,000 bills hit older people. Yes, older people who feel the cold and are at home a lot of the time.
Well, I must jump in and say that none of those things were created by IDS. They were all far before him. So just as a small defence there of, as you say, my former boss. Did he battle
against them?
Certainly, I mean, the whole point of universal credit was to try and wrap multiple
yeah, consolidation.
But you know, I don't want to digress. But yes, actually, Iain brought in a lot of simplification, but not far enough. You're absolutely right. It's still far too complicated. Actually, many pensioners feel it's a stigma to apply for benefits, and I think working out how to get past that, because, you know, these are pensioners who've worked hard all their lives, and actually, if they are struggling, we should be there to help them. So I absolutely think there is something in simplifying, but it's just not IDS's fault.
I think the wider issue here actually goes a bit back to, oddly enough, to the question of, you know, online child abuse, which is, do we like old people or do we prefer young people? And I think broadly in society, among the commentariat, they prefer young people. You know, I've had it said to me here at this panel, therefore, old people, you know, why don't they just moulder a bit and let's pay them less, as you say, over the years.
I didn't say pay them less at all.
No, you were pointing to the statistics,
right,
you know, that showed that they had been paid less. Right. Now, obviously, nobody evinces these attitudes directly, Michelle, but I think there's an undertow of distaste for the man holding you up in front of the cash point and all of that stuff.
Well, I'm going to let these guys argue about old people versus young people during the break. I'll let you relax.